With the market waking up, Cardano has had a breakout. In this video, we're going to dive down into the technical analysis for ADA to see exactly what has been going on and what we could expect to happen next. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗍. Right, with this said, done, and out of the way, let's dive down into the chart for ADA and take a look at exactly what is going on here with this price action. Okay guys, so as always, we're going to just start with that weekly chart. I really want to kind of review the structure, make sure everything's kind of on track, and talk about where we think things are likely to go here with ADA by the end of the bull run. Okay, so to put this into some kind of context, we have got the 5 impulsive waves to the upside. This is Elliott theory. Okay, for people who've been around on the channel for a while, they're familiar with this. If you're new, then obviously you haven't seen this before. But basically, the bull run started back in March of 2020. And basically, we saw several key areas, right? Wave 1 and Wave 3. Wave 1 basically peaked up in July of 2020, with Wave 3 peaking up in May of 2021. Okay, these are the 2 upward trends. There are, of course, 2 downward trends when it comes to these 5 impulsive waves, Wave 2 and Wave 4. Okay, Wave 4 bottomed out here approximately the September 2020, and then obviously we could have a triple tap for 2021. This was actually May of 2021. We had June of 2021 and July of 2021. Okay, things really heated up nicely for August. And then obviously September, being the month of pullbacks. Again, historically, you saw it over here and you see it over here. Every single September, we kind of make it happen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have the pullback, right? We expect it's going to happen, so we make it happen by selling our bags. As a result, we kind of got through that. We started trading sideways around this area. I'll get into that in a moment. But ultimately, we are now heading up into this 5th wave in a nice and strong way. But where does wave 5 actually end? Right? In order for us to understand, how we predict out wave 5, we first of all have to acknowledge there is an upward trend here, an upward trend here, and downward trend for wave 2, and a downward trend for wave 4, right? As indicated, as I just mentioned, right? So what we can do is we can take these trends of this bull run and actually help us predict out where things are going, right? So we take the low area of wave 2, we take the high area of wave 3, and the low area of wave 4, as in we take specifically the downward trend for wave 2, the upward trend for wave 3, and the downward trend of wave 4. We take these 3 trends into consideration, and we use a trend-based fib to actually then plot out where we think the 5th wave is likely to go. Now, this is truly optimized. Based on the trends that we've seen so far, this is the highest probability of where it is going. Now, obviously, with Cardano, fundamentally, things are shifting and changing. This could have an impact both positively and negatively, depending on the type of fundamental shifts that happen to the price action of ADA, right? Now, I think personally it's going to be a positive change because we're in amongst new eras for Cardano, and we'll get into more of that in a moment. But ultimately, we have a Fibonacci 4.236 extension coming in at $11.31 based on the trends of the bull run that we've seen so far. So again, some good kind of price expectations that are set with the weekly chart here. The structure is also following pretty much a similar pattern as well, as in wave 1 was pretty strong, wave 2 going into wave 3 was relatively flat for quite some time, right? We had a very long kind of flat period here before taking off. And again, we can see this very similar kind of flat period of time right here. Now, this is pretty much down to the fact that everyone's kind of waiting on apps to launch on chain, and this is just down to a couple of delays going on, and obviously the old joke of 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗍. But nonetheless, I do anticipate some interesting times are had by the end of the bull run. I think Cardano is going to be one of the latter projects to actually peak. So obviously not all altcoins go at the same time. You've seen Solana move rapidly to the upside, set all-time highs, all that kind of stuff. That worries me, specifically with the amount of billionaires that were invested in Solana. Now, we don't have the same problem when it comes to Cardano. Pretty much the majority of the supply was gifted out to the community, and as a result of that, you don't actually have this huge centralization of the supply like you do for Solana. So I'd be concerned over Solana's price action. That isn't going to last forever, and the money will eventually roll out and into other projects. So I do expect it to roll out Solana into Polkadot, for example. But with the market heating up, we have obviously taken out a key couple of technical areas, and we're going to get into that in a moment as well. So overall, the sideways trade, as I said quite a few times now, this is just an opportunity to basically get in at Cardano before we have that huge move to the upside. Okay, so again, in line, our expectations are approximately 4 to 5x, right? Okay, so we've got to understand where we are in the bull run, right? We're not going to be talking about 100x moves from our current position this particular cycle. That's already been had when you're getting in super early. Okay, so if you want to basically make money with crypto and significant amounts of it, then join us in the bear market, because that is where the money is actually made, not in the bull run. The bull run is just about two things: one, managing your expectations, and two, managing your emotions. Do not let the fear succumb, do not let the greed succumb you, and you should be okay. Manage those expectations, manage those emotions whilst you ride the price up. In the bear market, when the price is falling, that is where your money is actually made. That is where you make the educated decisions to basically accumulate very specific projects ahead of the bull runs. Okay, so do join us in the bear market if you want to know more about that stuff, right? So let's actually get into the daily chart, because we can of course be more conservative over our price estimates. Okay, so basically, if we take into consideration just the higher 3 and the lower 4, that one trend, let me actually just get rid of those, the one downward trend, okay, when Bitcoin was 65k and it moved down to 28k. If we take one trend into consideration rather than all 3 trends, we show ourselves moving out to $7.22. So a lot more conservative, right? Again, I think this is something that we are likely to see. Now, obviously, we are taking out some key technical areas. We can see that we had a good surge up in August, the pullback of September. And basically, we started to consolidate down on $2.15 and into the 786, 702, 618 of the chart. Okay, based on these fibs areas. So basically $1.90, $2.03, and $2.15. And we actually now have broken through this. We've pushed up and we passed back past that 786 area. Now, on that weekly chart, I do want to just kind of note that we are oversold. Huge potential to grow. And every time, if I actually just zoom out here for a second, we take a look at this weekly for one moment, right? Wave 2, the bottom of Wave 2, oversold. Good surge to the upside for Wave 3, okay? Wave 4, oversold. And then we have a good surge to the upside in August. Now we're back in the oversold area, guys. We're primed and ready for a good surge to the upside. And this could be what really takes us into those new all-time highs, into those fantastic price predictions that we've been talking about on this channel. Once we're up in this overbought area, we can be up here for several weeks before we eventually pull back down, okay? So taking a look at where we've been previously at all these low points on this weekly chart, we can obviously acknowledge that right now, we're at the low point, which means we're going to be pushing up significantly in terms of that stochastic RSI. Now, when we jump into our daily, okay, and the reason that I just went back to that weekly is we're actually overbought, right? So we're overbought on our daily chart as we continue to push that price up. Now, this is an interesting point. We can be up here for a while. If we take a look at this move in August, we will actually up here for pretty much the majority of August in this overbought area. We've only just entered this overbought area, so we're going to have to monitor that situation to see whether we actually go, pushing significantly to the upside, or whether we actually wipe this stochastic out very, very quickly. Because again, you can be very, very sharp in terms of wiping out that stochastic RSI. For example, right here is a very small correction in terms of price, but we took out that stochastic nicely. Okay, so just because the price is moving up does not mean the stochastic cannot move down. This is all about momentum and the sensitivity to the price movements. So again, we are looking to eventually wipe this out, but we can be up here for a while, which will be fantastic as well. So do monitor that situation. The fact that the weekly is oversold, we should start to basically rise this stochastic up nicely and stay up here for a while whilst we build up our weekly stochastic RSI. Okay, at this point, we're going to jump over to the advice.io dashboard. For those who do not know, advice.io, they use artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us understand the underlying value of cryptocurrencies. Now, this is important because this is information that you do not normally find inside the charts, at least not easily can it be seen. Now, advice.io is completely free to use. There's a link in the description below. If you're not signed up, do go ahead and sign up. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Now, we have Cardano here. It's actually gone down a rating today. Okay, it's a B2 rating. So something in the underlying data has been picked up by this artificial intelligence that might concern us. So we're going to have a look and see what's going on. As we come down, we have a fear and greed index as an A2. So basically, you can see that we were in an extreme state of fear for Cardano. And in the last couple of days, we've basically gone from extremely fearful to incredibly greedy. Okay, so again, that's an interesting kind of metric. It shows us as a positive. Now, the Sharpe ratio, on the other hand, is an interesting point. Okay, so we're incredibly greedy, and the Sharpe ratio is a C2. This could indicate that profits are going to be taken. Okay, and therefore we might want to kind of wait to see what happens next. Now, ultimately, our 50-day average, which is our red line, and our green, which is our actual Sharpe ratio, they're actually exactly the same, which means we're incredibly neutral. The AI is not saying that the risks outweigh the rewards or the rewards outweigh the risks. It's completely neutral at this point in time. The AI doesn't really know which way it is likely to go. It's pretty neutral on that position. So personally, looking at the charts, I think we are going to be pushing this Sharpe ratio into a positive rather than a negative. But again, we need a little bit more time to see what's going on there. Now, in terms of what's actually affecting the overall rating, it's the moving averages. The moving averages are a rating of D, which is the worst rating they can be, with 10, 50, and 100 days. Now, this is obvious when we actually start to review the kind of recent sideways trading within the charts. We've been trading in such a way that it has negatively impacted those moving averages. Again, that's not the end of the world, and we obviously will correct that as we progress to the upside. But we do have to be mindful that a lot of traders will be using simple moving averages, for example, and basically using those as an indicator as to whether or not to short or go long on particular projects. The profitability is right up there as an A1 though. So overall, I think there's a couple of things we need to be aware of and a couple of areas of concern, right? First of all, the moving averages, we should be concerned over that. But again, I do think that is something that's likely to change within the next few days. So I'm not overly concerned. I'm more concerned about the Sharpe ratio, considering where it is right now, and of course, the fear and greed index being in a greedy situation. This could be an indication that profits are going to be taken. So we want to be quite mindful over that, and we could potentially be expecting a small pullback on the smaller time frames. But with that being said, let's actually jump back over into the charts here and actually go down into an hourly review. And again, here you can see that we are overbought on our hourly, just coming past that 786, and we should be potentially looking for a pullback. The stochastic is in the overbought area, so a pullback is something that we could potentially start seeing here. And again, what we'll do is we'll look for support lines, right? And obviously we can see that there was resistance up at 229. That'd be great if we can continue the surge to 229 and then pull back. And from here, we can see historically where we've pulled back down at 2, right? So we can see that the $2.15, this 786 is a key area for us. So we will want to turn that into a support line before we gear up again and a good push to the upside. But we could also find a good area of support just up here as well at about $2.20. So overall, there's some interesting kind of moves going on as well for Cardano. It's good to see this breakout occur, get out of this area that we've been stuck in for what feels like quite some time, and obviously come back down, back test it, turn to support, and then continue that growth overall. Okay, so things are starting to heat up when it comes to Cardano. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about was a status update from IOHK themselves. So the roadmap.cardano.org. And there's a status update from a couple days ago. Okay, so 5th of November. I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen this, but basically there's updates to a few things that are going on. And I really wanted to kind of just talk about a couple of things. The 𝗕𝗪𝗓 wallet, for example, this week the team optimized the 𝗕𝗪𝗓 startup sequence and integrated the latest Ledger.js. And they also started implementing Catalyst registration changes and are also working on introducing a discrete mode to hide transaction amounts on and wallet balances, right? So pretty interesting stuff going on with 𝗕𝗪𝗓 if you do use 𝗕𝗪𝗓. Obviously, it's a quite a heavy duty wallet, and you might want to actually use the Euro wallet if you're finding resources being a bit of a problem on your computer. But 𝗕𝗪𝗓 wallet is an interesting kind of update. Now, as we come down, we'll just talk about a little bit on this side, the networking, right? So this week the team completed the IPv6 support for P2P functionality, which is now in review, which is fantastic. Worked on the fork counter and also simulated socket tests. They continue reviewing the P2P master branch, in particular those commits that are used by non-P2P code and processed with the specific review and updating. Now, that's pretty cool stuff, right? So this week the team also prepared for the node version 1.31.0 release. And the other thing that I really want to kind of talk to you guys about is a couple of things. So the 𝗗𝗘𝗪𝗓 era. So this week the Plutus team worked on compiler optimizations for small script output and ran some additional benchmarking tests. They also made small Hadoop fixes and some organizational changes that make the stack more in sync with the 𝗗𝗏 project. So the Marlow team worked on the education team, worked with the education team on planning for the Marlow Pioneers program. They also applied some fixes to the Marlow Playground client and worked on the Marlow run improvements. So some pretty good updates here for Cardano. And I think this is important that we obviously acknowledge that pretty much what we're waiting for is Plutus and all that kind of stuff to actually launch on chain, so that we can actually get some of these projects that have been building on Cardano across the line. Once we start seeing that, we're going to see huge transactional volume start to actually come into the ecosystem, which will have a huge impact on the price action of ADA as a whole. So overall, everything's actually looking pretty good for Cardano. Again, so some fantastic opportunities to accumulate while we're trading sideways. We had the breakout. We'll see a small pullback, I do anticipate, on the smaller time frames, retesting that $2.15 area, and then I do expect us to actually slowly move our way up progressively to new all-time highs, and obviously take out some of those key areas. But again, I still expect Cardano to be a slow performer. And with that being said, I mean, it's going to be one of the last ones in this bull run to go absolutely crazy. I do expect those insane price targets that we've been talking about to actually get hit. But I do expect them to be next year in Q1 of 2022 and the latter part of this bull run, after many other altcoins have gone parabolic. Okay, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.